Hey, what's going on, folks? This is Mike here, and welcome back to my Modern C++ series. In today's lesson, we're going to continue talking about stream-based I/O, this time talking about string-stream. And in a way, this is exactly what we've been talking about this whole series, or the past few videos where we've been talking about stream-based I/O. Somewhere we have to have some sort of buffer of storage. Why not use a string? Well, that's exactly what string-stream is. And I think this is going to put things together for us. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump into CPP reference here, our favorite site, and look at the input-output library and stream-based I/O specifically. And again, if you've been following along in this series, we've been talking about the basic input-output streams here. We've looked at output file streams, input file streams, basically the whole thing. But now we want to look at string streams here. Let's see if we can go ahead and find them below. But of course, you can see string stream, and then it give input and output here. And basically, this kind of puts together everything that we've been talking about, right? You need some sort of storage device here. Let's go ahead and look at basic string stream. And of course, if you just want input or output, we can do that here. But let's look at string stream. And this is sstream for the header. So again, that could be something that we lose here. But let's go ahead and just add that before we forget it. So let's include string stream, just one S there. And again, the basic idea with this is it is available for us for input and output operations for string-based streams. Okay, so whatever our string type is, again, we're going to assume our strings are just 1 byte per character here, just to make things simple. But of course, again, if you're working on localization or supporting other languages, you do have W string streams here. Okay, so we're just going to focus on this type of object here. And you can see that's the definition here. So again, basic string stream, that's the file that we're in here. String stream is just a nicer way to type that out and say it's a type with a char here. And then, of course, you've got W string stream as mentioned here. So anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at this here. We've got a few different functions here. And of course, we can get the buffer with the underlying string contents. So maybe we'll play around with that a little bit. And then, of course, you can get a view of that underlying buffer. Now, that's a newer thing in C++20, so we're going to want to make sure that we're at least using that here. But let's go ahead and play around with this just a little bit to understand string stream. So at the end of the day, if you just imagine that it's a bucket of bytes, and since it's a stream, we can basically put stuff in it or out of it, again, if we're using an output stream or a input string stream. But let's go ahead and just start with something simple here. And let's go ahead and just create a string stream. Okay, so what's that involved here? So standard string, and let's just follow along from our documentation to make this easy here. String stream, I'll type it out here. And you'll see, folks, in like tutorials, this is what I do too, just SS. Or, you can give it whatever name you want, str, stream, or, something reasonable. But that's the shortest thing here. And let's go ahead and compile this. Let's just kind of get ourselves set up here. I'm going to use C++. We need at least 20 here. I've been using 23 too. Let's move into the future. Compiles. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to do something with this string stream now. So what do we do with string stream? So we can read stuff in it and out of it. So let's go ahead and maybe let's just start with printing this out. I'm going to use cout so that we're all in on string operations. Let's try to write this out here. Let's see what happens. We're just going to play here. And of course, we're going to get a bunch of errors here, right? Because what is this string stream object? What are we actually writing out of it? Well, again, let's look at our member functions here. What you probably want is to get or set the contents of the underlying string device object, right? So, I don't see here, right? If I don't see any operators that are available with, supporting the stream operation here. So that's why you might get one of these crazy template errors, but you can always kind of check here under the member functions to see what's available here. So let's go ahead and try to remedy that. Let's do string here, and let's go ahead and look at our string operations, just so we see what's going on here. Might need to make that a little bit bigger here. We can see there's a few different types here, but and there's different ways. It's returning a copy of the underlying string here, and it's telling you what it's equivalent to. Right, and we saw this show up in a few of our previous videos, RD buffer, the buffer that's, underlying here. But here, a string stream, we've just got a string here, okay? And I think that's basically all we need to know about it. It is a copy. We can get a move constructed version of it here. Let's see if we have that here. There it is. when you see the double ampersand, so for efficiency. But let's just try to get something printing out here. And of course, well, it doesn't write out anything because we don't have anything in our string stream here. Okay, so let's go ahead and kind of keep working with this here. Now, of course, we've got a bunch of operations here that we could do here. Let's see, we can extract information. This is coming from iStream. And if I scroll down a little bit from output stream, I can insert information. Okay, so, you know, we have a pretty flexible buffer here. So let's go ahead and play around with it. Now, how do I put information into this and out of it? Okay, let's back up again from the documentation. How do I construct a string stream? Because somehow I need to associate some data with this string stream here. So let's go to the constructor here. And let's make this a little bit bigger here so we can see. And again, we got a lot of different overloads here, but I want to construct a new string stream. Okay, so how to start navigating this? Well, maybe let's start with the parameters and then we can go through some of those overloads. So basically I need to provide the initial contents of a string here. And then I got some other types here. And then of course I can also, well, with my string stream, I could write to it in binary, input, output. I mean, all the other stuff that we have, right? This is sort of a fundamental operation here. But let's just look at a basic string stream. Let's take a look at this one here. Actually, let's find one that has something like this, I think is what we want here. Yeah, we basically just want to provide a string, and then you can see that these other, you know, it looks like a lot here, and in a way it is here. This is the one we want here. Let's just start with this one here. So we have to set this first parameter here, you know, pass in some sort of string object. And then it's just going to set the mode for in and out, right? So I can write into the string stream and out of it. If you have iStringstream, you're just going to see base in. If you have oStringstream for output, you're just going to have this one here, okay? So again, you'll find different overloads. So we're using stringstream. Again, we could do input and output. That's the default mode arguments here, so I don't need to do anything with it. What I do need to provide, though, is some sort of string type here. You can see basic string or std string, okay? So again, just kind of explaining this because it was confusing to me. So I need some string. You know, we could call it buffer. A lot of people just say, like, this is the line I'm looking at, or, you know, some string or something like that. Let's call it string buffer here, just to compromise here. And that's going to be my underlying storage, okay? Now, if you look at this series or earlier in this series, right, we talk about string. You know, strings are pretty comfortable to work with. In fact, let's go ahead and just say, hi, Mike, something like that, or hi, YouTube, or viewers, or students, or, you know, whoever's watching this. Let's go ahead and compile this again. Let's go ahead and run it here, and there we go, okay? And I actually forget, did I not run it when I did this? Either way, now we have something visible here, right? Our underlying contents we've got in our string buffer here, okay? Now, of course, let's go ahead and make this a little bit more interesting here. Let's go ahead and say we want to get some information out of this string stream, okay? I've already populated it here, so let's go ahead and say, wow. And let's go ahead and do, well, I basically want to like extract chunks. And remember what streams are really good at. They're good at extracting chunks of data and ignoring the white space. Okay, and this is already separated by white space here. So I've already got it white space. And let's go ahead and do, I like to just call this chunk here. And basically what I want to do here is with my string stream, I want to write out, and let's go ahead and get this in front of us. This is going to be a output operation here. So we're not inserting data, we're outputting data. Let's go ahead and scroll down here. Oh, this is going to be basic, basic iStream. Oh, yeah. Oh, extract. Yeah, basic iStream. We're extracting formatted data here into this chunk here. Okay, and let's go ahead and just write out here chunk and well, whatever the chunk is here. Okay, and let's do an end line here. And let's go ahead and recompile this. And let's rerun it. And let's see what we get here. Hi, YouTube, or viewers, or students, right? Every space separated thing we've got here, okay? So again, just to review here what we're doing with our string stream, this is going to be the underlying storage, set up our string stream with underlying buffer, right? That's this guy here. We can output the contents at any time, and we can extract information out of our string stream. Okay, so nothing too crazy there. And it might be interesting too, just as we're doing this, let's go ahead and just output our string stream. Okay, each iteration. And we should see this, well, if it's doing it right. Oops. String stream, I made the same mistake again. Right, we want the underlying buffer here. Right, since we're extracting out characters and we're actually modifying it by, by taking something out. Well, I mean, it feels like I should be taking out like this should be getting shorter, right? Well, again, remember Stringstream, it's kind of just like our files that we were working with. Let's go ahead and, for instance, if we look at our different functions here, right, we've got stuff like peek. Let's go ahead and say what else we've got. We've got tell G. Maybe that's a little bit more insightful. Let's go ahead and look at our string stream, and tell G will return the position here. Tell G. Let's go ahead and see if we do this now. Aha. Okay, now that's kind of interesting. High, I'm at position 2, then 10, then 13, 21, 24, and then ultimately, -1 when I don't have any more data to read here. Okay, so again, remember what Stringstream is doing. It's not destroying, the underlying buffer. It's just got some way to point to the next chunk that's available of white space. Okay, so that's what we're extracting here. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense here. Now let's go ahead and kind of look at the other example that we might have here. And again, the way that you usually use this is like parsing a line of text. Okay, so let's just say note, this is handy for parsing a line of text. That's where I'd probably use a string stream for. I'd read in a file stream and then look at every line and add to it or something. Okay, I mean, let's go ahead and do this same example here. Let's go ahead and modify this. And for this example, let's go ahead and do, let's set the position. Let's see, I think I'm going to have to use seekg again. Let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead and use seekg. Now let's go ahead and look at the documentation because I got to remember these things. Seekg to set the input. I want to set it at the end here. Let's see, and we have a direction here, end of the string stream. Let's do end. How do I use this? std ios end here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and go seek from the end, std ios base end. Let me see what these two parameters are here. Specifies file seeking direction type. The following constants are defined. Okay, we got that here. Okay, yeah, this takes us to the beginning. Right, and of course these are the offsets from the end here. I'm just gonna put it in 0. Let's go ahead and do 0. Make this a semicolon. And let's try to add to our string stream. Okay, just to make sure that we understand this, let's make this a little bit bigger here. In the meantime, back to the end of our stir buff, that's effectively what seekg is doing. And then what we're going to want to do here, oops, we should have a return 0 there. Let's go ahead and add to our stir buff something else at the end. And I added a space there just to be, a little bit careful. So we'll have something else to parse here. And let's go ahead and do something like this. So, and let's just call this, added chunks or something. Reading added, chunks. Okay, because I've added something else at the end here. But I've seeked, back to the end here. We add to our string buff, and let's go ahead and see if we can get this correct here. Oops, minus a semicolon. There we go. It runs. Does it do the right thing? Didn't quite get us to the... So again, intuitively, this seems like we should go to the end here. And we should be able to like maybe append our string or do something like this here. But let's explore this a little bit just so we can understand what's going on with streams here. And let me go back to the help page here. And we haven't yet in our streams really looked at, let's see if something, bad happened. Let's check the fail bit here. And let's go ahead and see. It's just going to return us true or false whenever we try to do something here. So let's try to see if I do this seek operation here, if something bad happened. So SS failed. And let's go ahead and see if that returns us like a 1 or a 0 or something. So compiled. It is turning a 1 here, which is kind of interesting here. Okay. So let's see. How do we know what failed here from our actions here? Oops, let's close some of these windows down and get too much going on here. Fail. Okay, check if an error has occurred here. It will return true or 1. And what can we do about it here? Well, we can see if the file was bad, if we reach the end of the file successfully, maybe, or maybe we have some sort of like data here. Okay, so again, there's a bunch of different error codes here. I can just cheat a little bit here and say, okay, something bad happened. Let's clear it. Let's go ahead and rerun, and let's go ahead and see. If I clear the error bits, if something happens, are there more chunks to look at here? Well, maybe let's go ahead and again let's put this clear here. Let's go ahead and look here, and okay, now I get basically a 0 here, so that's no problem here. And then I could modify this to read from the I think it's beginning here. I could reread through my string stream of data here. And again, I get hi YouTuber viewers or students here. Okay, so that's my initial thing that I had in my string buffer here, so no problem there. But it, whatever I appended here at the end here doesn't really matter for my string stream here. Okay, it's not affecting this thing here. Right, I've already copied that underlying storage into my string stream, and that's what my buffer is here. Okay, so if I want to modify this. What can I do here? Let's go ahead and just use the insertion in here, and let's add something at the end here. Okay, so now let's try to compile this. Let's try to run it here. And now I can see something else at the end dot udents, which is part of this here. let's see here. So that was my underlying storage. Let's go ahead and say UDENTS, just to make that, capitalized and kind of stand out here, and to show you that that's already been allocated here. So again, that's not quite right, or maybe quite what we expected, right? Because we've extracted these characters. I've cleared and said, okay, I want to, get ready to do some operation here. Trust me, nothing bad's going to happen. Move to the beginning of our string stream, and then our fail bit's okay. And then I write something here, but, we've already sort of allocated something here. Now, we do have a tool that's on the screen here where we could get the contents of a string. But actually, if I look at the documentation again, and let's go ahead and find, again, towards the very top, our string operations, we can get or set the contents of the underlying string device object. So I could use it, this string here, to basically set the contents, right? I can pass something in here. So overloads 4 through 7 replace the contents. And again, let's just play around with this a little bit here. If I do s string, make it empty string here, and then maybe insert some more stuff, and then start extracting some things, compile that, give it a run here, and finally we get something else at the end here. Okay, so there's a little bit of stuff to manage here. And I'm going to tell you, if you've made it this far, the common use case for stringstream, you're probably not going to be rewriting into the same string stream and making sure to clear the buffer and clear the bits. But again, I just wanted to show these operations so you have some sort of reference, right? And you can always just clear the string stream like this every iteration of your loop or something if you want to reuse it, and then insert some stuff here and then extract some characters, right? So you can imagine like a chat system, right, where you are inputting some text like this, and then you want to write out one word at a time and send them, to clients or something if you're in a multiplayer application or something. Chat, one word at a time, the individual chunks. This is something that you could do in the inner loop here. Okay, so we kind of want to, look at things like that here. Okay, so with that said, I do want to do one sort of more demo here, and this is going to be reading from a file and parsing the contents, because I think this is going to be, the common use case, the common use case of how I use Stringstream, okay, this header file here. Okay, so first thing that we're going to need to do is open up a file stream. Let's go ahead and do that here. Let's make sure that we include fstream. That's going to allow me to do input and output. Let's go ahead down here. And let's go ahead and do standard file stream, F or something like that will do the trick. And actually, let's be a little bit more precise since we learned about these things. Let's just use input file stream here. And I'll call it, input file, something like that, just to make it a little bit more specific here. And I'm going to do this in a way, if you folks have seen my quick start series on C++, let's just read it in from arguments. And we're going to assume that our user is always going to put in one argument. They're going to be very good about this. Let's take in the arg count, and let's do char star argv, something like that. So we can read in our arguments. Okay, and that's going to, let's open our file here. And we also learned that we should probably close our file. We don't have to, again, if you watched the series, if within this scope, for instance, you're going to remember to close the file, that's fine. But if you're going to do multiple operations, like, with opening up the same file within the same scope, then that can be a problem if you don't close the file handle. So that was the idea here. But anyways, what we're probably going to want to do here is something like, you're going to use this pattern where you say get line from your input file. You want to store it in a line. Let's just read in a string. Okay. And then what you're going to want to do here is for that line here, you'll create a stringstream, just like we did here. Stringstream line, and the line is going to be the underlying storage, and then parse each word from that line. Okay, so you'll say, while you're reading in from your, what are you doing? Your stringstream, ss line. You want to grab a chunk, and again, we're going to need a little variable here for our, I'm just going to call it chunk2. Okay, chunk2. And we'll want to write out that line here. Okay, let me go ahead and get all the code here, right? So we're going to open the file, from our arguments here. Here, we can make this even more concise. And this is going to hold each line from the file as we read it in. And then for each line, we want to parse it. Thus, we treat each line as a string stream. Okay, line is going to be the underlying storage in our string stream, right? Because again, we got to store this just the same as we were doing before. And then basically, I want to get an individual chunk here. And I'm just going to write this out as chunk2 here. Okay, and we'll just put, we could put an end line here. Let's just put commas here just so we can delineate here. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and compile this first, see if we did anything silly. Let's see, looks like one missing stream operator there. Oops. Sorry, typing too much here, too fast. There we go. Compiled. Okay, compiles. Now, if we want to run it, we need to specify some sort of file. So let's just make a little file here. Test.txt. Hello again. This is a file that we are going to parse with many lines and words or tokens or whatever. Okay. So that's what we want to feed in here. Test.txt. Let's see what it does here. Okay. So it worked. I can tell you it worked, but let's comment out some of this here just so we can focus on our one little example here. And then we'll do a little code review here. But this is the deal here, right? We read in the file again and look at each line. So let's go ahead and run this. Recompiled. There we go. And again, it's just breaking this file. Hello, comma, again, comma, this is comma, file, etc., etc., etc. So, you know, a little thing that you could do that would be a fun experiment or a good exercise would be to count the occurrences, say, of a word that shows up here. Okay, and you could do that if you've been following this series, and you could create some sort of map data structure or something. Again, I'll let you think about how to do that. But again, this is it. So we're able to get each individual token here. Now, again, if you're just watching my series also on serialization, this could be really useful because you might be, right, these might have meanings. For instance, these words here, you might be reading a word and then a value, a word and then a value, a word and value that has, again, some sort of meaning here, right? So you could kind of put together these tools here with Stringstreams and, you know, how to serialize data and structures and so on. So make sure you check out the previous video on that, okay? So anyways, hopefully this makes sense. This is kind of the common pattern that, you know, I find myself using. You can probably make it even a little bit more concise with some of our STL algorithms, for instance, for how you want to maybe iterate through a file or something. But again, I found that this little pattern here works well enough when parsing data. Anyways, folks, let's do a brief review here. We covered a lot of different things here. I'll go ahead and put the full demo here together, but hopefully string streams are demystified for you. Again, that's from the sstream file here. And again, string stream at the end of the day is just some underlying storage behind the scenes, just using a string for the regular string stream version here. We can get or set the contents as we learned of the string stream here. And then, of course, we can extract the contents, which is just what we've seen a few different times here. We can play around with this buffer of data as far as like how to move through it with the position. But if we want to start doing other operations like extracting more chunks of data, right, we got to clear the bits or maybe do something hacky. I found it's probably just easier to clear the string stream and then write in some more characters into the underlying storage. Again, that's probably the best, you know, approach to just reallocate it and make life easy, and then do another extraction. And then, of course, working with file streams, which again, behind the scenes are just a stream of bytes again, but this time we're taking that string of bytes, breaking apart each line here by getting one line at a time, seeking through that file, and then we seek through each individual line here, grabbing each individual chunk. All right, folks. So, you know, hopefully that makes sense as far as what Stringstream is. It's not really scary, it just kind of sounds scary. But if you just think about it as a underlying collection of bytes, which you can choose to populate, for instance, it kind of makes it a little bit more intuitive. At least that's what I found here. And of course, as always, you know, just kind of play around with these functions. So anyways, folks, I'll point you to my series here, and of course, you can track your progress on courses.msha.io. I've got other C++ courses and Vim and these types of things here you can check out. But again, if you want a distraction-free environment, check that out for free. So anyways, folks, hopefully you enjoyed this lesson. Hopefully you're enjoying doing some work in C++ here and just, again, understanding the purpose of some of these things. We've had some really great discussions in the comments. I've been appreciating that for the latest C++ videos about, you know, why do we even have string or, you know, stream operations? For instance, you know, if we want to do things in little chunks, again, this is our tool to do it. And you've seen some different and kind of neat ways to break things into chunks using stream. So anyways, folks, I'll leave you there. This is a long enough video. Thanks for your time and attention. As always, I'll look forward to your discussion, and I'll see you in the next one.